sessions is more of information sharing, and without further ado, we have about 100-ish attendees now. Let's start. I'll pass the mic to Mr. Daryl, our COO. Daryl, over to you.
Thank you, Koo. Hello, everyone. I'm Daryl Pham from AECC Global. A very good afternoon to all of you from Singapore. Hope you're all keeping well and safe. Well, it's almost coming to 2 years since the pandemic started, isn't it? And many students' dream of international education has been affected. As we all know, most institutions are currently offering online education. But as we found out, it's not everybody's cup of tea. There are technical issues with Wi-Fi connection, there is time zone difference, and also it calls for a lot of discipline, right, to study online education. Well, you'll be pleased to know there are now face-to-face study options. And today we'd like to look at 3 of these countries, namely Canada, UK, and Singapore. Now, if I'm a student, I would really like to know how is this all going to work, all right? The what, the when, the how. This type of very detailed information would be very useful to give my parents and myself a good sense of confidence to embark on these options. So today's webinar will be comprising of 4 broad but short sections pertaining to general information about the country, pre-arrival, arrival, and what to expect when on campus. And towards the end of the webinar, we also invited Mr. Bryce of Casita to share with you some of the accommodation information, especially when you arrive in those countries. We also have a Q&A, as Koo mentioned, so you please feel free to ask us questions pertaining to your preferred study destination. So let's kick off today's session by looking at these 3 countries' vaccination programs. Now, you've probably read in the daily news, right? All these political leaders have been persuading and encouraging their citizens to get vaccinated. And I guess that gives any travelers a sense of safety measurement of going to that country. So I'd like to start off by asking Nina, what is the vaccination rate and situation in UK? And more particularly, is vaccination a requirement for the students before arrival? Over to you, Nina.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Daryl and AECC Global Malaysia for having me here today and for hosting this fabulous webinar. I'm Nina Jalaluddin, Head of Development here at Northumbria University Regional Office, Kuala Lumpur. I'm excited to be here today to be able to share with you some insights on the reopening of international borders. I'm sure it is a topic that is very dear to many, especially to the audience listening in today. I hope you're staying well and safe. So to cover the vaccination, what is the current vaccination rates in the UK, the pre-departure vaccine requirements and vaccines offered by the university? If I may share with you, the current percentage of the vaccination in the UK as of 27th of July 2021, the UK government have introduced an extensive and successful vaccination program due to be completed by this summer. On the 27th of July 2021, the UK has vaccinated almost 84.3 million people with first dose, which is equivalent to 56.4% of its population, with 36.4 million people have been fully vaccinated. First vaccines are now being rolled out to everyone in the UK, age 18 and above, as well as children over the age of 12 who are at higher risk of COVID. In terms of pre-arrival vaccination, international students are not required to be fully vaccinated to come over to the UK, but quarantine rules will apply. The UK government and National Health Services will ensure that all students have access to the vaccines as part of their international health surcharge and also strategies. International students who are already in the UK will be offered the same access to vaccination. In the UK, the National Health Services, or NHS for short, will provide vaccination to all incoming international students coming to the UK this September. In the UK,
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Errol.
I'll ask you more questions about the quarantine and the vaccinations upon arrival in a minute. Yeah. So over to you, Jessica. I read in the news that the improvement in the numbers of students going to Canada has improved a lot. I mean, the numbers have dropped, but there's still very good enrollment this year, isn't it, in particular states and so on. Can you update us what's happening in Canada in terms of the vaccination rate, and is vaccination a requirement before you arrive in Canada?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I would like to thank you to Daryl and all AECC Global team for holding this section for me to share about the information of vaccination and the situation, particularly in Canada, to all of the students. So I'm Jessica from University of Windsor, and we're in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. And probably you have heard from the news, Canada is one of the leading countries in vaccination rollout rates and on its way to reopen the borders. So we gradually lift the public health measures based on the ongoing progress of national vaccination rates, as well as the improvements in the key public health and healthcare indicators. So we have been leading in the administering first dose vaccine with over 71% of the total population having got the first dose, and over 55% of the total population has got fully vaccinated. So with the rising in vaccination rate and fewer cases reported, Canada is definitely a safe place to be to international students. In terms of provinces, especially for the most populous province like Ontario or British Columbia, we have been moving to the final stage of the 3-step reopening roadmap since July. So it would be very safe in September for students enrolling in fall 2021. That's why I think that's the reason the international student coming to Canada to enroll, and the enrollment rate is raising. So on the national scale, Canada has been easing the travel restrictions and opening its borders for international traveler. So for international student, vaccines are not required prior to arrival. And once you're in Canada, you are starting in Canada, residing in Canada, no matter which status of yours, you can get free vaccination. And in fact, for international students, they are able to travel to Canada since early this year, so very, very early. And for tourists who might be able to enter Canada after September 7th, they must be fully vaccinated.
That's good. And Suman, in Singapore, what is the vaccination rate? And I saw in the news that the government is implementing no quarantine in September if the country can hit 80% quarantine, isn't it?
That's true, Daniel. So just wanted to introduce myself. So I'm Suman. I'm from Singapore campus of James Cook University. So yes, Singapore is progressive really well, particularly for last 3 months in the vaccination. So yeah, so at this moment we were at the stage of 66% of fully vaccinated, and government is trying to get about more than 80% before 30th of August. So after achieving that, government do have progressive plans where they wanted to open up. So they are also considering no quarantine for people who have taken vaccinations, both the doses. And that's progressive. And we are also facilitated for last 1 year multiple intakes with face-to-face learning also. So in coming November intake, we are expecting with this current progression with Singapore as a region has potential for students to come and hook into us in face-to-face learning environment. Yeah, we're very happy with that. Yeah.
That's great to hear. So the next section, we're going to look at pre-arrival information. All right, namely, we'll look at 2 broad categories. The first would be visa requirement. Okay, can we apply for visa now? And obviously the next one, before you arrive, you need to know whether flights are available to go to these countries, all right? So I'll start with Jessica. Understand, as you mentioned, all right, because the different provinces have got different rules and you need to attend some briefing before you can actually, to make sure that you're ready to arrive in those countries. Could you share with us what are the visa requirements, policies for Canada?
So for international student applying for study permit to get into Canada for study, since early this year, as I shared before, international students are able to travel to Canada to study. But there are something that they have to note. International students should apply to the DLI institution, like the designated learning institution, which has the COVID-19 readiness plan approved by the provinces or the territory that the institution is located in. And also they are required to hold a study permit or a study permit approval, noting that a study permit alone is not a travel authorization, and the international students must ensure that they can meet the obligation under the Quarantine Act with respect to mandatory isolation or quarantine. So international student also should remember that there is a requirement to enter Canada with a plan for quarantine for at least 40 days. Even though that they may be exempted from the quarantine, they should prepare a plan for quarantine still. Yeah.
Can they apply for visa now online or for Canada?
Yes, so for Canada, the student can apply for the study permit. And also we encourage the international student to apply online. And the processing time is usually ranging from 20 days to 8 weeks, depending on where the student applied from and which stream that the student applied through. Also, it is not included the time that the student need to give biometrics. But I have seen my students that have got visa approval within only 2 days or 5 days. So it's very quick at this time to accommodate students to attend fall 2021 or winter 2022.
Okay. And what about the flight situation? I saw some promotion by Air Canada with some institutions, isn't it? Yeah. So flights are actually flying into Canada, isn't it? International flights.
International flights into Canada is very flexible at this time. Only flights from India are suspended because of the pandemic situation in India. We also have Air Canada, which is the largest national airlines in Canada. They partners with some institutions, for example, University of Windsor, to offer the discount on the ticket fare for international students attending those institutions. So that's they try their best to accommodate and facilitate the student to get into Canada and reduce the financial burden.
Thank you. What about Suman? What's happening in Singapore? How convenient has it been for students to apply for visa? And what about the flight situation into Singapore?
Thanks, Daryl. I mean, flight situations where I'm going reverse in our flight situation as it's operating from Air India. So, but it's in a selective destination where from main metro cities from India, that's happening across. So until now, there is no disruption there. For visa purpose, we have performed for last 3-4 intakes, and usually it takes about 2 weeks time to get a visa approval. But in a record, usually it takes about 3 weeks to 4 weeks time. But we are getting faster visa approval for students and a lot of students do take a vaccinations or take a PCR test from the home country 72 hours before as a predetermination coming to Singapore. And after arriving, they have a quarantine and moves on with face-to-face learning environment here. So that continues. Yes.
Thank you. And Nina, for UK, understand there are some travel regulations that the students need to know before they arrive, isn't it? So can you brief us about the, first of all, the visa processing services, is that still ongoing? And also the flight arrangement into the UK? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Daryl. Yes, visa has been a very hot topic lately, particularly in Southeast Asian countries, especially students heading to the UK. So in order to comply with strict local restrictions to prevent the spread of COVID-19, UK visa application centers in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand in particular will be operating on a reduced hour with social distancing measures in place. As of yesterday, this means that there will be significantly fewer appointments available than usual, and it will take slightly longer to process application from when the visa centers were last open. So please only apply for a visa if you are confident when you can travel to the UK. A normal visa processing time for a UK student visa will take about 10 to 15 working days. If you want to have an enhanced service, that will be 5 working days altogether with an additional charge. Visa application centers that are currently open are Singapore, Jakarta, Indonesia, Manila, and Cebu, Philippines, Bangkok, and Chiang Mai, Thailand. Due to unforeseen circumstances you've probably seen on the social media, and in line with local COVID-19 regulations, our UK visa center in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia is temporarily closed. The visa center is working to reopen as soon as possible, in which is practical and safe for customers and students. Visa centers in Surabaya, I was told it's remain temporarily closed until further notice, with Bali reopening on 5th of August. I would suggest to all students listening in for further information, just go to the visa application pages for the current operating hours. Yeah. Well, in terms of flight availability to the UK, it really depends on which we're going to probably highlight later, whether or not they fall under the red, amber, and green list of countries. So in terms of traveling at the moment, it is actually quite, there will be limitation, depends on where you're traveling from. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you. All right, so that's the pre-arrival information. Now, what happened when you arrive in those countries? We're going to look at some of the arrival information. Particularly, I'd like to know and hear from the speakers about quarantine. Is it required? All right, and who's going to pay for the cost? Is the institution paying for it or the students paying for it? And then also some of the speakers have also talked about vaccination and who's going to pay for the vaccinations. All right, so let's start with Canada. Now, I know, and I read it somewhere, that the quarantine measures actually works depending on the category, whether you're vaccinated, not vaccinated, and recovered, isn't it? So there are different policies for that. But before I ask Jessica to speak, am I right to hear from the, correct to say from the 3 speakers that you need to take a test, the COVID test, 72 hours before departure, isn't it? For all the 3 countries, right? That's common for all these 3 countries. So that's something that you have to bear in mind. So I'll pass the session to Jessica to expand on the quarantine, who's paying for it, and also what are the measures for it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Daryl. So for different, we have different quarantine and testing measures for 3 different types of international students coming into Canada. So the first one is for fully vaccinated international student coming to Canada. So you still have to do the pre-entry test, the PCR COVID-19 test, which has to be taken 72 hours before your arrival. And then when you get into Canada, you still have to do the upon arrival test, which is at the port of your entry at the airport. You are exempted from the 40-day self-quarantine. You can go directly to the dormitory or anywhere that you have rented before, and then you don't have to take the day 8 test. So for the international student who are eligible for being fully vaccinated traveler, you should have your 2 doses of vaccination from your home country from at least 40 days before your arrival. And those doses should be accepted and should be among the 4 accepted vaccines. So the first one is Pfizer BioNTech, the second one is Moderna, and AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson. So you must keep in mind that only those 4 vaccines are accepted for fully vaccinated international students. And then for the second type of students, the one who are not vaccinated yet, you still have to do the pre-entry test, the arrival test, and the day 8 test. And you also have to do the 14-day self-quarantine, which is mandatory. For the recover students, like the recover from COVID, you must have the proof of positive COVID-19 molecular test. And you still have to do 14-day self-quarantine, but you are exempted from pre-entry day 1 and day 8 tests. So you don't have to do any COVID test when you're in Canada. And especially from September 7th, this is a tentative date. Depending on our vaccination rollout, if we hit 80% of the total population got vaccinated for the first dose, then we are going to welcome foreign tourists into Canada as well, and they must be fully vaccinated. Mm-hmm. For the quarantine costs, so for anyone, international student or travel coming into Canada, if you are doing self-quarantine, you must be responsible for the quarantine cost. And normally the cost would ranging from 700 to 1,000 Canadian dollars for 40 days, including accommodations and foods. We encourage the international students to stay in hotels because they have their room service, so they don't have to arrange the food by themselves. And at University of Windsor or some other institution, they also have partnership with some hotels to get a special rates for international students as well. So you should explore that opportunity before you making a decision to travel to Canada to do self-quarantine. Then with the vaccination of the international student coming to Canada, as long as you're residing in Canada, you are able to get access to free vaccination. We have the mass vaccination sites for the student to book appointment, and then you can go there and get your vaccine dose at Windsor. In Windsor, at University of Windsor, we also offer the student with free transportation from your place to the mass vaccination site. So it's very convenient, and it's the way for us to encourage people to get vaccinated. Also, we have the walk-in and drop-in vaccine clinic. So for this form of vaccination place, the student don't have to book any appointment. You just walk in and get vaccinated. But there are a limited number of doses offered during a day. And at University of Windsor campus, we also have the walk-in vaccine clinic for our students as well.
Thank you. So let's look at UK. Nina, understand the quarantine time duration is about 10 days, but then it depends on which country you're coming from. As you mentioned earlier on, there are the different lanes and so on. And in terms of the quarantine, I guess the good thing about UK is that some of the universities actually pay for the quarantine, isn't it? Some universities, but some of them don't. And for the vaccination, I understand also that because it's part of the health cover, so they all get free vaccination. But Nina, let's expand on this for the audience. Thank you.
Sure. It's a pleasure, Daryl. Now, in terms of the quarantine period in the UK, allow me to share as well. The UK has started to slowly ease restrictions since 19th of July 2021. How students or travelers are quarantined upon arrival in England depends on the traffic light system, in which countries are placed in a color bracket depending on their risk. Red countries are high risk, amber are moderate risk, and green are low risk. Depending on which country you are coming from, you will need to do different things. So since the travel guidance policy changes ever so frequently, I've got to really be careful. So I'm just going to put a disclaimer note here. As of today, and in reference to Southeast Asia regions, the red list countries are Indonesia, Philippines, Myanmar. Amber list countries as of today are Malaysia, Thailand, China. Green list countries as of today are Singapore, Brunei, Hong Kong. Red and amber list countries are required to quarantine for 10 days upon arrival in the UK. However, for students arriving from red list countries, such as Indonesia, Philippines, and Myanmar, for example, they must quarantine for 10 days in a government-managed quarantine hotel in the UK before traveling to their designated universities. Okay, if you have not arranged a quarantine package prior to your arrival in England, you will face a heavy penalty of up to £4,000 and will still have to pay for your quarantine package on arrival. So students, please do pay attention to this. So when you arrive, if you are coming from Indonesia, Philippines, you are required to quarantine in managed quarantine hotel, and you can only arrive in England at certain ports of entry. Currently, these are Heathrow Airport, Gatwick Airport, London City Airport, Birmingham Airport. Mostly it's in London or Birmingham. Other ports of entry may be added in the future. How much do I need to pay if I need to be quarantined in the UK if I come from a red list country? Per student, you are required to stay for 10 days, quarantine for 10 days, and that equates to £1,750 per student or per traveler. That includes your accommodation, your your quarantine managed accommodation, and also it's basically full bedding, including food as well. For students arriving from the amber list countries, such as Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam, they too are required to quarantine for 10 days upon arrival in the UK. The only difference between red and amber lists is that students from the amber countries will not be required to quarantine in the government-managed quarantine hotels upon arrival. They could make their onward journey to their respective universities and quarantine in their own accommodation, meaning it can be university-managed accommodation, private accommodation, or nearby hotels.
Nina, what happens if a student has been vaccinated? Do they still need to go to quarantine?
Yes, they do. Presently, Daryl, although there have been a lot of statements coming out saying that if you've got your double doses and if it's regulated by the UK vaccines in terms of the recognized vaccine list, at this point of time, international students are still required to quarantine upon arrival in the UK.
I see. Okay. Suman, what's the situation in Singapore for quarantine, and who's bearing the cost, and what about the vaccination? Could you expand for us?
Thanks, Daryl. So for Singapore, I mean, after 23rd June, so 2021, it has categorized, I mean, to two manners. One is high-risk countries and one is low-risk countries. And from a high-risk countries such as India or Sri Lanka or Pakistan or Nepal, Bhutan, from these countries, when students arrives here, they have only two things, couple of things. One is they have to take a PCR test from the home country. That's the first one, and that is prior to onboarding the flight, 72 hours prior to onboarding the flight. And after coming to Singapore, so they will be tested they will be tested in the airport. So from there, they will be quarantined for 14 days. And the quarantine fees is about $2,125 for 14 days quarantine. And everyone will be going through the 8th day of the quarantine serology test. And after that, they will be connected to the community in Singapore. And we also encourage in the quarantine period for the students, we also connect this with the students in multiple manners to facilitate in easing the quarantine, what they are going through.
Mm-hmm. And vaccination, that's also provided free of charge for students?
Unfortunately, the students need to bear the charge. But above 14 days, if there is any additional days quarantine, then James Cook University will jump in, and we will accommodate the 1 week cost if there is an additional to 14 days. That is something it's occurring.
That's good to know. Yeah. So I think hearing from the three speakers, it seems that almost all the three countries have about coming to 60% of the population being vaccinated, which means that for every 3 person you meet, 2 of them have already been vaccinated. So I think that gives you some level of safety there. And I think all this information are very useful, while you're preparing for your, study journeys into the 3 countries. Now I'm going to ask the last section of question, which is what's happening on campus. I'll start with you, Suman. What was happening in the Singapore campus? Are lessons still going on? Is it hybrid or or face-to-face? And what about internship? What are students still having this challenge of having internship or not?
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. Thanks for this opportunity. And so, yes, I wanted to start with this. So we are performing face-to-face learning at all the time from the quarantine starts from the last year. So a lot of students do attend the face-to-face learning exercise as well. So we do also facilitate a blended mode to facilitate some of the students who are stranded in their home countries. And that's one part that we have done extremely well in quickly shifting towards online and facilitating the students who are stranded in their home countries. And so otherwise, I mean, yeah. So we welcome most of the students in a particular manner where hooking into and facilitating both face-to-face learning as well as online learning as well. So that's first part. Second part, we have capstone subjects which are available in bachelor's level or master's level in all the streams. So this capstone subjects is a very fascinating one. The capstone subject will accommodate 3 parts, and which will be a feeder for real employment for a student. So we would not use the term as an internship, but I mean, eventually it is sort of doing the similar job of internship. So the first part is every bachelor's degree, it comes in a last subjects, 1 or 2 subjects, and every master's degree, it comes as a last subject. So students will be facilitated for an assignment. And once the assignment is being approved, they'll be going to online work or online data, or directly accessing the company's data in performing as a project. And they will submit the project back to the university and they will be graduated. So this sort of, if they are acquainted well, if they are doing extremely well in their project work or in their assignment or what they are focused in, then probably that will facilitate them in getting into the same companies as an employment as a role. So that is for an internship as an answer. Yeah.
Thank you. What about UK, Nina? What's happening in the campus in UK now? And what about internship? Is that still available for students who are there?
Thanks, Daryl. It's an interesting time in the UK now. From 19th of July 2021, the English government has eased most of the restrictions that were in place, meaning which shopping malls, eateries, nightclubs are basically open to all now. So with the new restrictions in the UK, many UK universities are reopening their doors to receive and to welcome all students into campuses this coming September. UK universities have taken the extensive safety measures to ensure that students feel safe and protected. In terms of how teaching will be delivered this September, many UK universities are either adopting A, a face-to-face teaching, B, a hybrid or a blended learning approach. It is a combination of a face-to-face plus online teaching. The online teaching can be undertaken either on campus or in your home country, and C, by distance learning. Right? So with the active and ongoing pandemic across many countries, The UK government has also implemented some concession for UK student visa holders because of the current situation that's happening in most places, red list, amber list, and also green list. They are allowing students to proceed or to transit to campus either this September or at latest by April 2022. So that gives students the allowance and the time management to really plan when they could actually get their visa and also to fly abroad. So that is actually a very, very welcoming news to receive. So basically, in terms of the internship has actually been conducted as early as last year, but it depends on the nature of the course itself. Currently, I'm not speaking on about my university on its own, but generally, internship tends to be prioritized at the minute in the UK, where they will give priorities to students who are undertaking either medical or applied health sciences type of courses. So at Northumbria University, for example, we do have a default plan whereby if students are not able to do an internship, we are able to actually support that by study abroad kind of incentive, or basically a business clinic that is run by the university itself. So Daryl, in terms of answering whether internship is available, it is available, but it is going to be quite competitive because of the nature of the courses and demand as well.
Okay, thank you. What about in Canada, Jessica? What's happening on campus? What kind of teaching mode are they doing? And also, can you please shed some light on the internship arrangement as well? Thank you.
Yeah. So for summer, which is May 2021, we still deliver all the courses online. But as we turn our focus to the fall 2021 semester, we try our best to maximize the opportunities for on-campus experience for international students. So we gradually leave the rather strict and health measures. Some of the institutions, especially for primary and secondary level, are back on campus, like 100% face-to-face in-person courses. But for post-secondary, for example, colleges and universities, some are fully in person, but the majority of post-secondary institutions would deliver the courses in hybrid format, which is blended mode, both online and offline, so that we can ensure the health and safety of all the international students, as well as faculty and staff. So with the return of students and faculty and staff, this fall, their range of health measures will continue to be in place in September, even though international students are back on campus for certain courses. For example, those courses require lab or laboratory or practical experience. So they still have to wear non-medical mask on campus. They still have to do social distance, keep the distance, washing hands, and from the university, we enhance the cleaning with the daily across the campus. In terms of their internship, so you know that in Canada, co-op, which is paid internship as well as internship, is something that's very important and incorporated into the programs. So it's very essential for international students to get the co-op or internship experience. And I have to say that even though it was COVID, but I think there are more opportunities and options for students to attend internship and co-op than even more than before. Because like a lot of people, a lot of companies, they are getting more used to and familiar with distance working from home. So the students have more chance. They don't have to like apply to jobs only in the city that their institution is located in. They can explore more opportunities somewhere else, in another city, in another province, even abroad. And as long as the companies, they accept working from home format, then the student can be eligible for that internship or co-op opportunities. So I think that even though the pandemic situation like create a lot of disruptions, but in terms of the working experience for the students, it in some way enhanced a lot. So like specifically for a university student, like University of Windsor student, we managed to help the student to gain co-op or internship, and even like provide the position inside of the university on campus for international students. So you still gain the valuable experience during their study.
Oh, that's good to hear. And there's a silver lining to it. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's come to the end of most of the questions for this session. I'm going to invite Tom to say about Casita. For fall this year, Tom, what can we expect in terms of accommodation? Are there lots of options and choices for them?
Absolutely. And I think over my last maybe 15 years I've spent in the industry, of that 15 years, about 10 of those years have been here in Southeast Asia. And traditionally, students in this part of the world were always more interested in staying on campus, as it was always perceived to be the safe option. Now, with these buildings that we promote, they're called purpose-built student accommodation. They're essentially condominium buildings for students, and they've been built all over the world. Casita now have options in 50 different countries. And as of right now, we still have over 1 million rooms available on our website all over the world for this coming September. So when I say purpose-built student accommodation, I really do mean condominium style living, but all of the tenants in those buildings are students. They're all within walking distance of the university, usually within the city centre themselves, and all competitively priced with self-contained bathrooms. So very popular for students in particular in this part of the world. So I think that as the virus develops and as we learn to live with it, there's going to be a greater demand for our purpose-built student accommodation rooms. And a lot of them are offering free early arrival. Some of them you can actually arrive now up to 6 weeks before your course begins, and those first 6 weeks are completely for free. Wow. So yeah, so we have some great options. We're really, really happy with where we are right now. And of course, our website lists every single one of our destinations. So you'll be able to follow that for the QR code being provided shortly.
Thank you, Tom. That's good to hear. I'm going to pass the session to Koo, who's going to look at some of the questions from the Q&A box and see whether our representative can handle some of the questions that you have put forth to them.
Yes, thanks, Daryl. I got a good number of questions. My first question goes to Jessica. Jessica, if the borders open, can a mother go with her son, and can the parents accompany them to fly all the way to Canada, settle them down and come home, or only the students are allowed to enter the country?
So far, only the international students themselves can enter the country. But after September 7th, as we are easing the travel restrictions, traveler, for example, like parents can accompany the student to Canada, but as long as they have the fully vaccinated.
Thank you. Then the next question goes to Suman. Suman, what's the cost of self-quarantine, and is there any reimbursement from JCU Singapore?
So yeah, thank you, Koo. So the cost for a quarantine is 2,125 Singapore dollars for 14 days. And if anything goes above 14 days, then James Cook University will be reimbursing for up to 1 week of the quarantine cost. So yeah.
In what circumstances they will have to extend another week?
Sometimes there might be there might be tested positive, or in that case, some of the other cases. And so if it is been extended for other more than 2 weeks, so in that variance, probably, yeah, we will be able to help. So again, earlier days, there also a news where from some of the countries, when the students arrive to Singapore, they need to serve a 3 weeks quarantine. So I mean, certainly it changes over a period of time. So in that case also, if there is a government regulation that demands students to stay 3 weeks, then we will reimburse for a week time.
Okay, and I have a next question for you as well. I know in Singapore, you guys are vaccine for Pfizer, and there's an option for Sinovac. Now, if a student are coming from other Southeast Asian country, will they what do if I were to vaccine for AZ, for example, AstraZeneca, will the government recognize this vaccine, or what happens if I will vaccine for other brand? Will you be recognizing that?
So for Singapore, it's a really straightforward thing. First, their priority are for Singaporeans and Singapore citizens and Singapore permanent residents, and followed by that, it's more towards coming on to foreigners, and then followed by that, it goes along with the request as in a queue. So currently, Singapore is progressing towards 80% to achieve up to 80% before 30th of August. So once that is done, then the queue will be there. So according to the queue, the international students will be considered to be taking an option or in paying. Yeah.
Cool, you're muted.
Sorry, Jessica, same question goes to you. I know that in Canada, AZ, Pfizer, Moderna, J&J are all recognized. But what if, Malaysian, Indonesian students or even Thai students have been vaccinated for Sinovac? Will they be asked to vaccine again?
They can enter Canada, I can say for sure, but they still have to do self-quarantine. About vaccine again, is their choice to get vaccine again or not? But if they are going to do vaccine again in Canada, it's free for international students.
So they will still consider as a double dose vaccine if they get Sinovac, correct?
If they get Sinovac, they still have to do self-quarantine for 40 days. So they have not been considered double vaccinated yet.
Okay, thank you. How about Nina? Is it the same?
In terms of the types of vaccination, Ms. Gu?
Yes, the type of vaccinations.
Okay, in the gov.uk website, it says that if you have been if you received double dose, in terms, from Pfizer, Astra, Moderna, and also Johnson & Johnson, Janssen, it depends on whether or not you are an international applicant or you are a resident of the UK. So as of now, we do not have a clear answer whether international students who have been fully vaccinated will be exempted from quarantine.
Okay, thank you, Nina. Okay, everyone. I think at this point of time, for a certain country, any brands is good, just to get ourselves protected. Yeah, whether the brand is recognized by the respective country, I think the only difference is the quarantine periods. But having yourself vaccine, that's the first step. To protect yourself, it is very important. And I do have a question that probably I'll answer it myself. Do you think that it's better to study abroad this year or next year? Well, you have been waited for 2 years. That there's no best time. If you have been vaccinated, I think it's safe to go. As you hear what the other speaker have actually shared. Currently, 2/3 of their population have been vaccinated. So to a certain extent, they are almost achieved herd immunity in their own country. So if you were to look back at your own country, do you think which countries are safer? But then again, it is up to you to make that decisions. Yeah, you have to discuss with your parents, yeah, and make a wise decision on that. So, okay, so the next one goes to Jessica. Jessica, you're popular today. So is there so are we required to quarantine even we are fully vaccinated? Yes, you are, depending on the brand of your vaccine, just like what Jessica have answered. Now, do we need to pay if we were to need to quarantine? Do the student need to pay for it, or the university will cover the cost, Jessica?
Yeah, so for quarantine cost, the student should pay for themselves because it depends on the type of accommodation that the student are going to quarantine at. For example, they are going to quarantine at hotel or at the Airbnb, or they're going to quarantine at their residence, like on-campus residence, but they have to bear the cost of quarantine by themselves, and it's ranging from 700 to 1,000 Canadian dollars for 14 days.
Sure. And at the moment, I think some of the country, for example, Indonesia, experiencing delay in getting their visa approval. Do you, by any chance, do you know that whether that the immigrations will speed up nearer to the intake?
I haven't had the answer for that, because I do have Indonesian students starting online from September to now. They're waiting for the visa approval. But I think that because like Canada is opening its border, so I hope that like the visa processing is going to be expedited later to accommodate and facilitate for the full 2021 enrollment.
Okay, thank you. So the next question goes to Suman. In relation to the student visa availability, is there any delay? Do you experience any delay in getting students visa in Singapore for the 5 countries in Southeast Asia?
Absolutely not. We do not have any delay in reference with last 6 months. So we are actually getting little faster on visa approvals for time to time. So this includes all the Southeast Asian countries as well.
What is the turnaround time at the moment for Singapore visa?
Yeah, in general, by written, it says about 3 weeks to 4 weeks, but we used to get even 1 week or 1.5 weeks. We used to get, so 5 to 7 working days we used to get. This is a reference to last 6 months data that I'm sharing. So hope that could be useful. Yeah,
I think it will be very useful for students to use it as a reference. Nina, can students, if a student is underage, I believe, can their parents go with them as a dependent at this point of time?
At this point of time, Ms. Koo, again, I think the best place to reference this would probably be the visa centers yet again, simply because the current situation is that I saw one of the questions coming in as well from a red list country. I understand that for the red list country, they are not allowed to bring their family members along unless the student is a minor or on special case. For amber and green, they are allowed to, but a maximum of 2 family members per applicant. So it really depends on the traffic light system, whether it's red, amber, and green again.
Okay, I think someone didn't catch your answer earlier. So if I'm from Southeast Asian country, after my arrival, at which day they will need to do the test? 8 and 14, is that correct?
Is this for the UK?
Yes, correct. Sorry, Nina, that's a question for you.
Okay, yes, in the UK, students are expected to do the COVID test in the day 2 and day 8 of their quarantine period.
Okay, so it's day 2 and day 8, yeah?
Right.
Okay. So I think the other question was asking whether Canada will accept Sinovac. I think that will depending on the government policy. You will need to watch the space, whether they will accept in the future. At the moment is no. Yeah, so if you have been vaccinated by Sinovac, then you have the option to be vaccinated again if you want to, but you don't need to if you doesn't want, but you still have to quarantine. Yeah. So the test that we are referring to is actually a PCR test, yeah, not RTK. So you need to take the RT-PCR test before you actually fly, to any destination. Yeah. So of course, this is actually, borne by the students. Yeah. So what is the earliest date I can come to Canada to start my class? So students are allowed to enter Australia how many weeks prior to the commencement, Jessica?
So the
they-
student can travel to Canada to attend school, but they have to note that they can only travel to Canada like at least 30 days before the start date.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's no more than 30 days, yeah?
Yeah,
You have
no
to
more than
arrive
30
within
days.
30 days, yeah. Okay, so this applies to across Canada, right? It's not by
Yes.
province, right? Okay, cool.
That's true.
Okay, so let's see. What else? So I think I've answered most of it. In UK, which vaccine is given by the government is AstraZeneca and Pfizer. Am I right, Nina?
Correct, Miss Koo. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and is the vaccine card. So if you are the vaccine card given by the local government, so how does the students, when they travel to your country, UK, Singapore, or Canada, they just have to show their apps, right? Their, let's say in Malaysia, is the My Sejahtera app that, you know, they have been vaccinated and the digital certificate. Am I right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, that's done. Okay, I got someone from Malaysia. I believe this person is going to the UK, if I'm not mistaken. Please, because it's anonymous, so it should be UK. So this person get a conditional offer, waiting for unconditional. And do you think you have enough time to join the class face-to-face in September? Well, it depends on how soon you can get your visa. Yeah, Nina?
Yes.
So VFS is closed at the moment. So once you can apply for your visa, you have to check when is the date you are allowed to do your TB test and your other tests, yeah, your biometrics. So once it's done, look for priority visa options so you can get it as soon as possible. And some university do reimburse back your priority visa fees. Yeah, so please check. And of course, it will be good to know from the university when is your absolute last day to arrive. Yeah, so it is very important to check regardless of which country you're from. Okay, I saw question popping up on the chat box. It would be great if you guys can actually put it on the Q&A box so that I'll answer all the questions from the Q&A box. So the next questions, this is a student from Malaysia looking at postgraduates. So if you wish to have assistance from us to apply for application to any country, any of these 3 countries, please look for us or please leave your name if you're anonymous so that we can actually contact you and assist you with your application to the respective country. Yeah. So, okay. Give me a second. Let me have a look. There's lots of questions coming in. So there's a question say, will there be no problem booking a flight now with departure date December 15 while start class in January? I think at the moment it will be quite hard to say booking a flight regardless to which country because there's limited flight to each country. But things are changing from time to time. So it would be good you consult an AECC consultant to get to know like what is the latest updates, or follow our Instagram for latest update about flight or about you know, like when you can fly, what is the latest appointment for biometrics. These are changing. 2 weeks ago, our student was still able to get appointment for biometrics and for the TB test. And this week, they're all closed. So, you know, things are just changing too fast to actually give you an answer that is that's going to happen in 6 months' time. But do watch the space. Hopefully, everything are better and you'll be able to travel on time. Yeah, but definitely you can travel into UK if I'm assuming that you're going for January intake in the UK. You may travel by the mid of December for your January class, as long as you can get your visa on time. Yeah. So please leave your the country that you would like to inquire, yeah, because I'm going to skip the question if I doesn't know that your question are actually pointing for which country, yeah. So okay, so let me see. So UK, Nina, if I'm traveling from Philippines, red list country to study a postgraduate program, will I allowed to bring my husband?
Okay, thanks, Ms. Koo. I would suggest that you check the situation with VFS Global in the Philippines to give you a better understanding whether your husband will be allowed to be with you in terms of getting his visa to accompany you abroad because of the red listing countries. I'm just cautious, and I would suggest that you get in touch with VFS Global or AECC Philippines for further advice.
Okay, thank you. For fully vaccines international student from Philippines, PCR test to the point of entry is paid by the students. Am I right, Jessica?
Yes, so the
tests.
pre-entry test, yeah, the pre-entry test is bought by the student, but the arrival test at the port of entry is free for international students.
Okay, so the PCR test in Canada are actually borne by the institutions, yeah. So hope I answer your questions. Jessica, again, are we allowed to work while we are studying at currently?
Sorry, can you come again?
Can they work during the COVID? Can they work now if they were to start in September?
Yes, if they have a valid study permit, then they can work part-time for the maximum 20 hours per week and 24 hours per week on campus.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Don't worry, right after all this Q&A, there's a summary that will pop up, yeah, and it will be shared by our COO. You may take a screenshot of the slide, but then bear in mind that all these are changing very quickly at the moment. So what you see today, it might change in 2 weeks time, in a month time, yeah. So please don't take this as the final, yeah. Please do check before your departure or during the point of acceptance, yeah. So the school year starts in Canada. So school year in Canada start in September. The nearest intake will be September, yeah. Jessica?
Yeah, September.
Yeah.
September, January, and May.
So that's 3 intake. So if you think that September is too near for you, that's a January and a May intake, for you to have better preparations time. So I think I have kind of answered most of the questions. I'll come back. I'll let Daryl share the slide, and I'll try to answer the rest of the question by text. Yeah, it's more or less a duplicate of some of the attendees' questions. Yeah, Daryl, over to you.
Thank you, Koo. Thank you for so attentive and asking so good questions. Now I'm going to share my screen right now. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for attending the session today. Now we have summarized most of the information, as you can see, all right, in these couple of slides here. So those are the general information, pre-arrival information, arrival information, as well as on-campus information. We have also included the information on the Casita for your reference, so you can take note of that as well. Yeah. So cool. I don't know whether you have any other questions for them from the floor.
I don't have any other questions, but if you have any questions, our counselor will be following up with you very quickly on Monday. We will drop you a WhatsApp message so that you will be aware that if you have any questions, or if you would like to have us to go through the slide with you again, we are more than happy to do so. And this webinar will be uploaded on our YouTube channel as well by next week, so you can listen again. If you miss out any parts, where the speakers are certain part that the speaker when they're sharing, you miss out, you may actually listen again. Yeah, just to make sure that you get the right information. But feel free to check with us and let us know if you wish to apply. We're happy to help you. And if you have any question about, I saw a lot of questions on scholarship. Unfortunately, today we can't assist you on scholarship, but we are definitely will reach out to you on Monday and get more information on what course you would like to study and share relevant information with you. Yeah, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers here, Nina, Suman, Tom, and Jessica. If there's no other question from Daryl, I will probably end the sessions in 5 seconds. Daryl, you have any more?
No, same thing. Cool. I would like to thank the speakers for all their valuable time and information. And I hope that will give you some clarity and clear some of the doubts that you have about going abroad. So on behalf of AECC, thank you very much for your kind intention. And please stay tuned, right, for the next upcoming AECC webinar. We'll give you some latest news bite. So have a great weekend and bye for now. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your precious 1 hour. We will be contacting you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, guys.
Thank you.
Great hosting. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So much.
Bye-bye. See you next.
Bye.
Thank you.